Olori Mariam, they said, has been crying for a very long time over the fact that they said Ooni of Ife sent some men to go and beg OloriElizabeth to return back to the palace. See, in this life, as you dey sweet them, e dey pain them. As you dey sweet us, omo, e dey pain them. E dey pain some people, why e dey sweet some people. From what we heard, they said they locked Olori Mariam out of the palace because of gang up against the king, allegedly. Now, we also heard that Dr. Elizabeth left the palace on her own, and the Ooni sent some people to go and beg her to return back to the palace. And when Mariam hears it, Mariam has been crying. What kind of marginalization is this? Oh, what have I done? What have I done to myself? Oh, let's not forget that Mariam was the one who instigated the king to go for Dr. Elizabeth, because Dr. Elizabeth marriage with the king was paused, or will I say kind of being dissolved, until Mariam started pushing the king to go for Dr. Elizabeth. As a matter of fact, they said Mariam too was begging Dr. Elizabeth to please come to the palace. Please come to the palace. And her aim was such that Queen Naomi will not return back again to the palace. Now, as you dey see Dr. Elizabeth, e dey pain Olori Mariam. This life, in no balance. Anyway, guys, before we go into the gist proper, you are welcome back to my channel. I beg, subscribe to my channel if you are yet to subscribe. Give this video a thumbs up. If you're watching me from Facebook, follow my page for more and share this video. My people, allegedly, they said Dr. Elizabeth left the palace over what is happening. According to her, they said there have been so much happening in that palace. So much of them. And from what we heard, they said, she said that if she know that this is the kind of things that she is coming to that palace to face, that she wouldn't have gotten married to the king. Allegedly. Right now, Dr. Elizabeth is in Magadu in Lagos, where her family stays, From Switzerland, where she went for a checkup, she went back to her father's house in Magadu, in Lagos. And ever since then, she have refused to come back to the palace. According to her, she said a lot have been going on in the palace. And sometimes the king is not taking action as he ought to. And this is why a lot of people are saying that he is not taking control of situation in the palace. According to Dr. Elizabeth says she have experienced a whole lot from that palace, and sometimes she was expecting that her husband will stand up for her defense, but no, it is not happening. First, it started with a spiritual attack. According to her, she said that the kind of spiritual attack in that palace is too much, and the king could not do anything about it. The reason is because a lot of people are manipulating situation in that palace, and the king cannot do anything about it. That the reason why Queen Naomi is still outside the palace right now is because of this kind of people in the palace who are manipulating the king, who are manipulating situation, who says what stand instead of the king saying what stands, And this is the reason why she is leaving. That if her husband cannot stand up to fight in her defense, that there will be no need of her being there because she cannot fight her battle in that palace. Say the palace is so toxic. It's something she never imagined. And on that note, though, she ran for her dear life. And we do know that Ooni of Ife love Dr. Elizabeth. And not just that, Dr. Elizabeth is one woman who brings a lot to the table. Yes, so we heard that Dr. Elizabeth have about 14 application that is working in her name, so she earns a whole lot of money. She is one woman who will invest so much for the palace, and you will not hear pim from her. Unlike Olori Mariam, who will invest or who will help the king in building the Ojaja Mall. Every minute she will be demanding her own share of the Ojaja Mall. This life, no balance. Now, Dr. Elizabeth left, and the king have been begging people to go and beg her on his behalf to return back to the palace. But she said that no, she's not going until the king proved to her that he can defend her in that palace, because that palace is not a place for the weak. It is not a place where if you don't have strong backbone, you cannot stay there. My people, they say no be smart, no. First of all, they say they suggested to the king, this thing happened some months ago. They suggested to the king that the best thing for him to do right now is to dissolve the existing council of elders. Because people in that group, they are the ones controlling the whole situation in the palace. Even when the king tries to do something about it, they manipulate him. And we do know that most of them, they are older than the king. Not just older than the king, they are into spiritual stuff. Deep ones, from what we are hearing, allegedly. I want to remind you that I do not live in the palace, so they are all alleged information. As we hear them, so we they bring them, come give you here. So don't just come and call me liar. Oh. I am not telling you first-hand information. I am sharing with you a gist. Now, Dr. Elizabeth left the palace because the king have refused to do or heed to the advice, because one of the advice is for him to dissolve the cabinet, bring his wife, Queen Naomi, and Prince Tadenikawo back. And for the fact that Dr. Elizabeth is fighting for Queen Naomi and Prince Tadenikawo, she have made herself an enemy to these elders who really don't want Queen Naomi back to the palace, because they believe that Queen Naomi will stand on their way of dethroning the king. And let's not forget that severally it has been said that these people are fighting Queen Naomi so that Queen Naomi will go off the way, they will have their way to dethrone the king. And not only that, we also heard that the fight is a territorial fight. It's a territorial battle. Who owns the battle? That's the cocoa here. So, on that note, Dr. Elizabeth said, no, this fight is too much for her. She ran to her father's house. And at this point, we heard, allegedly, that the king have dissolved the group, as in the Council of Elders, and they are threatening to deal with Dr. Elizabeth and the Queen Naomi. And from what we heard, they said the king even arrested their advisor. So as we speak now, the man, the elder, is under the police custody, signing an agreement. I don't know, that is what we heard, allegedly. So now we heard also that the king have sent some people to go and apologize to and beg Dr. Elizabeth to return back to the palace. And when Olori Mariam hears about it, she started crying, claiming that the king is not doing well. Guys, tell me what you think about this on the comment section. I want to remind you that these are all alleged information. I do not live in the palace, okay? Thanks for watching. Bye for now. Love you guys.